friend who was also knocking on doors naked. Eventually, they both admitted they were on meth, wanted more, and were trying to track down their drug dealer, 42-year-old Jacob Walker. It's not clear if he even lives in the neighborhood they were running through naked, and the nudity, we don't really know what that was all about. But anyways, they said they'd been texting him and he wasn't answering. So the cops told them to try again. It's a weird turn of the screw, isn't it, when cops are telling you to text your meth dealer? The cops told him to try again. This time he did respond. He said he'd meet them at their house, and he got busted when he showed up. He was arrested for delivery of a controlled substance. Apparently, the cops have been trying to pin something on him for a while, but the naked couple, who have not been identified, were so cooperative, the police ended up letting him go. I'm not necessarily sure what I mean, public nudity is probably a crime, right? You're not allowed to walk down the street naked. Like, you're allowed to walk down the street topless in New York now. Few do. I think you have to be, like, working through some stuff if you want to walk around the streets of New York City naked. Like, it was Bruce Willis and Demi Moore's daughter that did that. I think her name's Rumor or Scout. One of them. I don't know. But if there's anybody that has some stuff to work through, it's probably the daughter of Demi Moore and Bruce Willis, after winding up looking more like Bruce than Demi. It's like, Dad, why must your genetics be so strong? What am I going to do? I know I'll walk down the street with my top off because it's my legal right to do so in New York. Speaking of legal rights to do stuff. You wouldn't say that if you saw the pictures. Speaking of legal rights to do stuff, how do you feel about the idea of, we've banged on a little bit this morning about the concept of separation of church and state. And it's a really tough one for most devout Christians that I know because, you put God first. And, this is not me oversimplifying the situation. This is the way it's been broken down to me by a lot of friends who are devout Christians that pray about big decisions, that pray about big and little decisions, family decisions, work decisions. When logic fails to get them through, they turn to prayer. And I think prayer is an incredibly valuable thing, even if you believe in nothing. Getting down on your knees and praying, that is the acceptance of the fact that there's something larger than you in the universe, or that there's more than you in the universe. It is being humbled in front of everything that is not you. It is divesting yourself of yourself. And whether you're doing that in a Christian way, whether you're doing that in a way that has nothing to do with any particular God, humbling yourself in comparison to the rest of the universe and attempting to clear your mind of the ego that drives most of your decisions, I can understand the value in that absolutely. So I never scoff and I never mock when people say, I'm going to turn this one over to God. I can't figure it out. I'm just going to pray on this. And a lot of people think, you put God first and the rest of the things that are troubling you, the rest of the things will work themselves out if you put God first. And I do understand that, but it leads to an incredible conflict in a lot of people I know who have their faith, do believe in God, do believe in putting God first, and then also believe in the purity of the American political process, which is more or less tainted every single time a member of the church gets anywhere near it, or anytime a member of our political process starts hiding behind the church. So it's an interesting conflict of interest that I've seen at work in a lot of people that take their spirituality seriously, especially when they're Christians. So it's a weird one, but I think we can all agree on the idea of free speech being a good idea. There's definitely people that abuse it. Definitely people who I don't think deserve it, but we're here in America, and that's what we get. There's countries where you can't step foot outside your home and talk smack about anyone in charge of anything in the world of politics, or they chop your thumb off or something like that. So we have it pretty good in terms of what we're allowed to do and say within the realm of our own free will here. But this is an interesting one. The city of Houston has issued subpoenas demanding a group of pastors turn over any and all sermons dealing with homosexuality, gender identity, or Anise Parker. For those that don't know, Anise Parker is the city's first openly lesbian mayor. People always wonder about this. Are we ready for a homosexual person in office? It's like, you really don't think. People ask this question. Are we ready for a homosexual president? Haven't we had one already? Oh, wait. Jimmy Carter wasn't that kind of nut farmer before he came into office? I see what I did there. But here's the thing.
He's a jackass.
Anise Parker is the city's first openly lesbian mayor. Those ministers who fail to comply could be held in contempt of court. So they're basically going after churches that have agendas with regard to homosexuality. Like, here's the thing, and this is what it's meant to combat. It's meant to combat people that go, hey, you know what's going to destroy your home, your kids, and ultimately America? It's this thing called gay. Gay's coming for you. Really? Well, gay seemed kind of innocuous to me. I never noticed. I think I have a gay neighbor, but I'm not sure because, my gay neighbor sort of keeps to himself and we don't really talk about it. And he just seems like a normal guy. And I don't know. Gay's coming after? Yeah. Gay's coming. Really? Well, I had no idea. Huh. I don't really have any dealings with gay people. Are you telling me they're coming after me? And yeah. Well, what can I do? How can I fight it? Well, it's the devil's work, so you can't really fight it. But I am a man of God, and therefore, I can fight it for you. But I'm going to need you to dig deep when I pass the collection plate. That's the sort of thing this is meant to combat, but the implications go so much deeper than this.
Radio puts the spotlight on Shinedown. Shinedown began when singer Brent Smith had signed a record contract with a group which quickly broke up. He began searching for members for a new band and first met bassist Brad Stewart through a mutual friend. The pair hit it off and were soon joined by Jason Todd, whose fiancée owned the studio where Smith and Stewart were recording demos. Todd was a singer in another band but wanted to focus on guitar. The trio worked well together and completed the lineup with Barry Kirsch, who was the seventh drummer they auditioned. Shinedown continued recording demos until 2001 when their label greenlit the debut album 2003's Leave a Whisper. The album's first single, Fly From the Inside, was used in the film Grind and the video game MVP Baseball 2003. Us and Them was released in 2005 with two of the songs, Save Me and I Dare You, used as themes for WWE events. Save Me also became Shinedown's first #1 on the rock chart and held that spot for 12 straight weeks. Stewart left the group in 2007, and the next year, 2 months before the band's third record was to be released, Todd's departure was also announced. They were replaced by Eric Bass and Zach Myers, who both appeared on the new album. 2008's The Sound of Madness is Shinedown's most successful album to date, reaching #8 on the sales charts. The song Second Chance, which the band originally hated, hit #1 on the adult top 40, mainstream, and modern rock charts, and was their first single to reach the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. Their fourth studio album, Amaryllis, was released in 2012, and at #4 was their best debut yet. Continuing their WWE connection, Adrenaline was the theme song for their Extreme Rules event. All things Shinedown, info, music, and more are on iHeartRadio, keyword Shinedown.
Delivering fascinating subjects, interesting talk, and boobs and fart jokes. AD on iHeartRadio.
Yeah. Let's go, talking that mess, better act like you know. Let's go tonight, walk away, punk, yeah, bitch. That's right, I know this. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. So walk away, yeah. You've been talking about me for a long time.
City of Houston issued subpoenas demanding a group of pastors turn over any sermons dealing with homosexuality, gender identity, or openly lesbian mayor of Houston, Anise Parker. It's weird. Politics makes strange bedfellows, doesn't it? I think this is just pastors and churches and things of that nature. You know which religion has a rather checkered relationship with homosexuality? You know, there's parts of the world where this religion demands that folks who are homosexuals be stoned or whipped and beaten and dragged through the streets. As Amanda, who's listening to the show, point out, Islam has not necessarily always been super cool with homosexuality. I mean, you know, Christianity isn't super cool with homosexuality for the most part, but when it manifests in a love the sinner, hate the sin sort of way, that's a little bit more palatable than like, hey, let's throw rocks at him in the street. So it's weird. It's weird. I mean, you know, look, they're going after churches for having agendas against homosexuality. And while they're at it, if they could go after a religion that believes in actively stoning people for being gay, that would be really cool, too. I don't see that happening at the moment. Wonder why. Might be too much of a powder keg to go anywhere near. But, you know, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. You know, like I said, politics makes strange bedfellows. I'm not into the idea of... As much as I love the idea of separation of church and state, I'm not into the idea of sermons being subpoenaed. But if you're going to do it, let's go after everybody equally, shall we? Anyways, the city's subpoena of sermons and other churchy-type communications is needless and unprecedented. This is what the ADF say. They're a nationally known law firm who specialize in religious liberty cases. They're representing 5 Houston pastors. They filed a motion in Houston, in Harris County, to stop the subpoenas, arguing that they are overbroad, unduly burdensome, harassing, and vexatious. I wasn't aware being vexatious was a crime, but all right, cool, whatever. They did say that political and social commentary is not a crime. Nope, no, it is not. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this job for which I get paid tens of dollars a year. And for that, I'm grateful. Political and social commentary is protected by the First Amendment. And here's the thing about political and social commentary being okay. And here's the thing about the First Amendment. And here's the thing about free speech. It allows idiots like the KKK to parade in the street and say, hey, we think people that are black are less than people that are white. Clearly not okay, but something we have the freedom to do in this country. It is part of the double-edged sword that is freedom. That is freedom of expression of your opinion. Free speech, if you will. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? I would be the first to the party if we could actually get paperwork going. And I know a lot of people don't agree with this, and that's cool. I understand. But I would be first to the party if there was paperwork that could be brought on that would effectively separate church and state. If you could have somebody sitting there in a sermon going, no, you're not allowed to talk about the election that's coming up. No, you're not allowed to try and sway people's votes. No. Play on your side of the fence. Stick to the God stuff. Stick to the being a good human being stuff. Stick to the teachings of the good book. Stick to the teachings of things that are going to drive humanity forward. I think everything that is political that is uttered in church should be stricken from the record, especially when it comes to things like voting. But we're not there yet. And I also think that there should be something similar that stops politicians. There should be something similar put in place, new legislation written that stops politicians from being able to hide behind God. Well, you know, the good Lord, I turned it over to God, and he told me to use the money, your tax money, as a place to build a... He told me to use your tax money to build an old folks home. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. There's actually a naked chick in the hallway. Radio. It's that wonderful... really? Wow. Yeah. No. It's... Oh, it's the morning show, people showing off. Yeah. Yeah, huh? I'm very aware of the fact that girls get naked on your show and they don't on mine. That's an awfully thin piece of... Okay, yep, go ahead, put them on the glass.